See Me, See My Ability, the podcast of the ARC, Southern Maryland. Since many of our clients are young adults who have graduated from high school or even have gotten 4-year degrees, or are finding themselves either needing to leave the homes they grew up in, homes of their mom, dad, or grandparents, for any number of reasons, this episode of the See Me, See My Ability podcast focuses on independent living and finding housing suitable for you, whether you have an intellectual, developmental, emotional, or physical disability. Let's get started with introducing our expert from a resource you should know about, the Maryland Inclusive Housing Corporation. It's registered and approved as a 501c3 or nonprofit in our state. Meet Lauren Silverstone, Director of Housing Support Services. She says once you contact Maryland Inclusive Housing, you get assigned a person to help you.
The community living coordinator is essentially a housing case manager, and the drive is to separate housing from services. So community living is really helping people find housing in the community that is not connected or owned by a provider. The individual can still have supports in the home, but as they need it on their schedule. So their housing is not controlled or connected to the service provider.
It's making sure people can live independently, but get people coming into their home if they need them.
Correct. And some individuals, everyone has different needs. Some folks may need a live-in care provider, whereas other people, just based on their needs, may only need a few hours of support services. So it's really tailored upon what that individual needs. Many individuals that we work with are young adults who are going through, say, transitioning services, individuals who are coming from, say, the younger services from high school and want to transition into, the adult services. But they also want to transition into their own home. But, just based on wait lists and the availability of these services, it's not a quick turnaround. So parents do get concerned. And then they also get concerned about the long term, as in, where's my child going to go when I'm no longer here to care for them?
Explain to me how you work with nonprofits like all the ARCs and how you connect them to people.
So there's 3 kind of different ways that we do that. So one is we consider ourselves an information clearinghouse. So we have a pretty robust website. We've worked with other agencies to even put what's called an assistive technology navigator on our website. So that can help individuals and their teams even just see what, assistive technology, which are just devices to help individuals, make their environment more accessible to them. So we have those kind of resources on our website. And of course, if people have questions about any of those, I can help walk them through it. Secondly, we provide housing support services. So that's our housing case management component. So we work with individuals who are enrolled in DDA, or the Developmental Disability Administration waivers. We work very closely with their teams to connect them to rental assistance programs and work with their coordinator of community services to ensure they receive the supports in their home so they can live independently. Then the third piece, which I think will mostly answer your question, is that we also have regional housing committees. So presently we have 5 housing committees throughout the state of Maryland: Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Howard, Eastern Shore, and Baltimore City. We hope to expand it further throughout the state. So what we do is that we actually invite a lot of the housing authorities, other providers, other partners in these regions. We help find out what those needs are, and then we work with them, resource connections. For example, I have folks that maybe need legal assistance. I am not a lawyer, but I make partners who do, who can assist with some of these issues. And then through that, we also have drafted memorandums of understandings with a few developers, 2 right now. So they are actually going to set aside a certain amount of units for us, so that way we can help fill up these units with individuals with disabilities who need housing.
It's important to remember that while there are people in our state who work to help you find appropriate housing for you or your loved ones, they only number in the handful, not in the dozens. The bottom line is, it's going to take time. Patience and understanding your helpers, very necessary.
One of the things I'd say is that there are many wait lists. There are wait lists that are just kind of general to the public, just solely based on income. For example, if I wanted a housing choice voucher, I would go to my local housing authority. Montgomery County has 2. So I would apply directly to the housing authority in the county I want to live in. Again, that is simply based on income. Now with the voucher, I would pay 30% of my income towards housing. That is how much I would pay. So again, that is the county-based wait list. However, that's open to anyone just based on income. So that is a much longer wait list than, say, some of the smaller, more targeted wait lists that are for people with disabilities. So, when we're working with folks, we do put them on these county-based wait lists, but additionally, we help them navigate some of the other housing opportunities and wait lists that are specifically for people with disabilities. So, for example, we primarily work with folks through the Developmental Disability Administration. There is a voucher program that is specific only to people who receive supports through the DDA. So if you don't even receive DDA supports, you can't even get on this wait list. So this is just an example of how we help folks navigate more specific targeted wait lists. And there are a few others that are available just for folks with disabilities.
So you tell them, first, in order to go down this path, you've got to qualify for DDA. Mm-hmm. And then once you get qualified for DDA, then we can help try to place you on a wait list. Mm-hmm. And what do they do while they're waiting on that wait list?
That is a fabulous question because, again, these wait lists are variable. And depending on what your present living arrangement is, it can be a long time. So folks who are, say, homeless or at risk of homelessness, who have the housing instability, they're going to be at the top of the wait list. They're going to get housed first. Other individuals who are, say, more stably housed or just living with their parents, it's probably going to be much longer. It's going to be a longer wait. So generally what we do while folks are in that process is we kind of start working on more independent living skills and goal setting. So for example, a lot of the folks we work with, they may have just graduated high school and they're just really now thinking about moving out. So we'll talk to them, be like, have you thought about a monthly budget? We have various tools. We actually get them from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, actual little, worksheets that we do with people. So that's just an example, get folks thinking about budgeting. Another barrier for housing is credit history. Just a lot of the individuals we've worked with, they just never had a credit card in their name. So it's not that they don't even have, bad credit, they just don't have any credit. So we help people work on building their credit because that, otherwise when they get a voucher, they apply to a unit, they don't have any credit, they get denied. That happens constantly. So we work with folks on getting, credit building credit cards that are secure, putting really low monthly payments. For example, Amazon Prime, you're gonna pay your $12 every month on time, you start building credit. So just kind of skills that we can get folks prepared for when they're ready to move out. That's what we work on during that process when, again, it's a little bit of a wait.
For more information, there is, of course, a website, www.mih-inc.org, mih-inc.org. And you can also find out interesting news, events, and gain an understanding of how the process of living in a home or group home to independently living by yourself or with your sweetie has gone for others by checking out Maryland Inclusive Housing's social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and other online posts. We also ask that you follow the ARC Southern Maryland on social media and welcome your feedback and review of this podcast episode and the over 20 others that we've produced so far. You can always email us at info@arcsomd.org or drop us a message, give us some stars or review on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. See Me, See My Ability, the podcast of the ARC Southern Maryland. I'm Rita Rich.